Oh, hi everyone, and welcome to the Scratticus Academy. We are professional streamers here and know exactly what we are doing. So first of all, please check out all the links that are coming up in the chat now. You can find links to the Discord, the YouTube, the merch, you name it, you can find it there. Please go check out our wonderful sponsors who we could not do this without. The wonderful Bird in the Storm. And also Mage Hand Press, whose mug I'm currently not using, but I do have mugs for both. Otherwise, I will hand over to the very lovely Rachel. Oh, hi.
Oh, hi. And hello, everyone. It's lovely as always to be here. And thank you to everyone who came along last week and knows what we're doing. And to everyone who maybe hasn't seen previous episodes, that's all right. We're kind of going into a new act today, so we'll see what happens. First of all, though, I would like to go around the table so everyone can quickly introduce who they are and who they are playing. Starting on my screen right with the wonderful Hilt.
Oh, hi. I'm Alice, or White Rabbit Pick on Twitter. That is where you can find me. I do all the photography stuff as well as a DM and player on this channel. Otherwise, I am playing Holt Bartuck, who is our oversized, big, tall, chunky otter boy that is here to have fun. He is just happy that he's got some friends right now, and he's very shocked to realize that his primary job is not a bag carrier. So he's now trying to figure out what's going on.
Next up, around the table, we have the wonderful returning Heavenly.
Hello, it's me, Heavenly. I'm back. I play Gruber, who I guess in canon now is a very sleepy boy. And he has no idea what's going on because he's been sleeping since forever. So I guess I'm the team nap mistress, I guess.
A good title.
Definitely. But don't worry, you have your wonderful party to catch you up on what's been going on. But of course, last but certainly not least, we have the Lost Badger Prince, Asha.
Hello, everyone. I am Derek Sword. You can find me on Twitter at dsword16. Yes, I am Lord Ashfell Silverstripe, Protector of Redwall, and High Prince of the Long Patrol. But titles aside, friends call me Asher. I am a hefty badger boy who is got a lot of his memories back, met his mom, had some real feels in the last game, and I'm so excited to see what this session brings.
Fantastic. So, today we're going to start off a little different. As you might recall, at the end of last episode, as the party prepares to depart from the Badger Fortress of Salamanders on the western coast of the continent, the current Lady of the Mountain, Hilda Silverstripe, has outfitted each party member with the equipment that they require for the long journey ahead to Redwall itself. Now, I'm going to start with Holt. Of course, at the towards the end of last session, you did receive your very special, enormous badger-made yew longbow. However, were there any other pieces of equipment? I'm talking about armor or kind of backup weaponry that Holt would be looking to get kitted up with before you head out and hit the road.
I think Holt is very much, if he doesn't have his bow and arrow stuff, he'll use himself as a wall to throw. So I don't think he needs any more weapons. He might want something like to just fit to him, whether it's some form of armor that he, whether it's heavy, light, or anything. In his head, he's protecting his waistcoat, but it will get something to go over.
That's very fair. Okay, so in terms of armor, if you want something a little bit lighter, because you are a bit of a, I guess, a rangery archetype, there are several kind of levels of leather armor. Then there are also kind of, I guess you could say, kind of natural armor that are made from woven like reeds or like tough packed things like reeds or bone, for example. So what kind of thing are you thinking? Because you've essentially got choice between soft leather armor, hard leather armor, or bone or wood armor.
Aesthetically, I think the reeds and the stuff like that would probably suit him because he's used to being in water, he's used to being in that sort of thing. It'd be easier for him to maneuver in water with that sort of thing.
Okay, so I'm going to say you're going for this aesthetic of these tough, compact reeds strapped to these bracers, greaves, and like interlocking kind of breastplate of these tough kind of tied together reeds. Because you want that maneuverability, I'm going to technically stat this like hard leather, because obviously if you've got it any thicker, you start to get more penalties on your movement. So this will give you 3 points of armor rating.
Fabulous.
However, it has an armor penalty of -2. So your combat defense in the A Song of Ice and Fire RPG game is equal to your agility plus your athletics plus your awareness minus your armor penalty, and the penalty of this particular armor is -2.
Okay. Hang on, so it was agility plus
Agility
athletics.
plus athletics plus awareness,
Okay.
and then -2 for your armor penalty.
Okay. So I'm at 10 then.
Yeah, you're at 10, but you can soak up to 3 points of damage with this particular armor, which can sometimes be the difference between life or death. Okay, so that's kind of all the detail you need to go into on armor. It's the two important stats are the armor rating and the armor penalty, which we've kind of gone through. Was there anything else that Holt kind of wants to equip?
I think Holt's all good. Otherwise.
Okay. Next round. Let's just take a short aside. Gruber, you very briefly woke up the day before because you were faced with the tantalizing and delicious smells of this fine feast that had been laid out in front of you. You didn't spend much time questioning your situation, so you have had plenty to eat. You're not starving or anything after your long sleep. But after such a hearty meal, you did doze off again in your chair in the Great Hall. You have woken up the following morning in these lavish but very rustic guest quarters. They're not opulent by any means, but they are very, very comfortable, very well furnished, and you find that there is a basin of fresh water, and anything else you might have required is next to you on this bed, which is a little bit oversized for your small, mole-ish self. And if you get up and if you leave the room, you will find that your companions that you traveled with for some time, memory a little hazy perhaps of the events of the last few days, appear to be staying in guest quarters either side of you and across the corridor from you. What would you like to do?
The last thing I remember was fighting the frogs. So I'm gonna go to Holt, because he's the one that I kind of like bonded with the most, I guess.
Yeah, that makes
in that
sense.
short time we had on the beach. But I'm gonna be like really slow moving, and like my little eyeballs are gonna be like half closed. I'm gonna be kind of shuffling my feet, and I'm gonna be like rubbing my nose and like yawning as I look for Holt.
So Holt, you will hear the thud 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 of the hefty mole claws knocking on the door to your room.
Sort of like adjusting himself in this new armor, pauses, looks over to the door and starts like moving over and opens it. First of all, he looks up and then he starts to look down towards Gruber. He's like, you're awake, mate.
And Asha, you'd probably also be waking up about now. You can hear the activity going on outside the door.
It sort of looks at Gruber. It's like, did you want to be carried again?
What?
I had you in like a little satchel thing across my chest whilst we were walking.
Oh. Did we kill all the frogs?
We killed all the frogs. You know, we went,
Nice.
you know, I stealthed through an army. I didn't get seen or caught. We passed. We've done quite a lot, actually. How are you feeling?
An army?
Yeah, no, don't worry about it. But how are you feeling? There's nothing to worry about.
I eat any gluten?
You know, there might have been some in those cakes.
You remember you've eaten an extraordinary amount of pastries in the last few days?
Gluten always makes me sleepy.
Hey, what's gluten?
I didn't know what gluten was.
I don't know what it is either. I overheard someone say that once.
Oh.
But I think it's true for me.
I mean, yeah.
It would prove you were asleep for 3-4 days?
That must have been a very big gluten intake.
And also, we found Asha's a prince. He's a lord.
Hi.
What? Asher?
He's like
and we found
royalty.
out that Anastagia isn't, but I made her a lady. She wasn't a lady, but now she is a lady.
What kind of criminal prince was on that ship?
Oh, right. So we had some memories come back to us. There was a fox-like creature. It was like pieces were falling off of him, and he was horrifying. And he had a sister who was the sister had a big snake, and the snake hypnotized us. Oh, and we were all at Redwall. Do you remember that?
Gruber, as they're saying this to you, you get almost like the pulses of a headache, but rather than pain, you kind of feel like these flashes of light go through your mind, and you remember whilst you were asleep for that long time, you had dreams. And you remember that you did dream of this tall, rangy fox-like creature with white fur dropping off of its body with these grey and brown patches underneath. You remember these two huge orange eyes of a massive serpent boring into your mind as this chanting went on from behind the serpent. And then you remember warmth and comfort, and you remember the best food you ever tasted, gluten-free at your behest, back at a beautiful, stately building made of red sandstone. And suddenly everything they're saying starts to make a little bit more sense.
I'm remembering parts of it. That wasn't a dream?
I think it was both. It was both a dream and a memory.
Maybe a vision. Apparently they do that here.
Vision. I've never had a vision before.
I met all of my ancestors. They were really nice. And then I made a shield, but I don't remember how. Did Holt tell you about how he carried you around in a papoose?
I think he may have alluded to that.
My
instinct is to go back to sleep, but I feel that would be inappropriate. I sense that there's something going on.
We have things to do now.
We have things to do.
Well, whatever happened, it sounds like at one point we were in this place called Mossflower Wood. So we're going to go back to Mossflower Wood, and we're going to see what happened.
Which is also where we think that the massive army of bad creatures is headed as well.
Massive army?
Oh yeah, it's a real big one.
Sizable.
You said you had an axe for me?
It was in your papoose.
Yeah, and like Hope goes back into his room and pulls out this little axe and holds it out to Gruber.
As you're having this conversation in the corridor, there is a scurrying, and then you hear a hare kind of approach and say, Master Gruber, sir, I see you are awake. If you would like to come with me, the lady has informed us that when you awoke, you were to be escorted to the mountain armories, so we will be able to outfit you with equipment of your choice for your trials ahead.
I take the axe from Holt and I tighten my grip on its handle, shaft. What are the axe parts? The blunt end.
Not the pointy end.
And I look at Holt and the rest of the party, though I guess it's only the two of you, Asher and Holt. And I'm like, can we trust her?
Oh yeah, they fed us.
Oh, okay.
She's my mom.
Do they look alike?
The person speaking to you at this point is a hare, definitely not a badger. But they did
really
a lady.
The lady who you're going to meet is my mum, not the hoppy fellow down the hall.
This is my mum, and there's a hare.
Did you see the resemblance?
Yes.
Mom.
I look at Holt and I whisper, Asher still being very suspicious.
Oh, he's all right, really. Just, probably the visions.
I'll follow
I
the
cared you
hair.
when Holt wasn't. Gruber has two dads, okay?
The hair leads you down the corridor. In fact, kind of slanting upwards, you're going a little bit higher into this mountain. And the passageways spiral around until the hair leads you through this archway, through a side exit from this main spiral, and into a vast room outfitted with countless weapons of all shapes and sizes, as well as armor to fit. Mostly to fit hares, some massive pieces to fit badgers. However, they also have a few suits of different forms of armor meant for much smaller creatures, such as mice and moles, and others of smaller stature.
Okay. Do they have any do they have any shooty things?
They do indeed.
Things that I would throw, maybe.
Indeed, they have, for example, javelins. You can see slings. Javelins.
I think I already have a sling.
You do have a sling, and slings are the kind of thing where having a finer make of sling won't really improve the damage you deal because it's mostly about your skill. However, they do have throwing spears like javelins. You can see something that looks vaguely like a boomerang with kind of a sharpened edge to it. They also have a variety of bows.
Okay. Which one of these things would use my marksman ability and not my athletics ability?
That would be short bows and long bows.
Excellent. Because my athletics ability is 1.
That's fair.
Cool. I would like, what's the difference between, okay, we don't need to get into the difference between a short bow and a long bow. One is short and one is long.
Indeed. They have
I understand words.
They have a few mechanical differences. However, it's kind of as to what Gruber would prefer.
Is the longbow too big for Gruber?
It would be a little bit on the unruly side. You can kind of see that strapped to Holt's back is an enormous longbow that looks like it was made for a badger rather than an otter. And you wouldn't actually be able to wield that without the bottom being, well, the bottom would be several feet below the level of the ground if you were trying to wield it.
I'll take a appropriately sized short bow.
Okay, cool. So a short bow, you've got several kinds of styles that you can see. There are some that are kind of recurve bows in style, which means they have these cool little kind of curled bits that go around the outside, which kind of make them a little bit more powerful to shoot. You've got the kind of more slightly simple style of bow. There's quite a, and all of them have different kind of carvings and decorations on them. What sort of thing would kind of Gruber be looking for aesthetically?
Something very simple. Gruber is a simple mole. And while he appreciates fine food, he dresses very simply. He doesn't want anything ostentatious. He would prefer not to stick out.
Okay. Okay, so you pick out a simple looking bow. It looks like it might have been crafted from it's a much darker wood than the pale wood of the bow that Holt is carrying. Very dark, earthen kind of walnut or mahogany style color. And the edges kind of curl back slightly, making it a little bit more powerful, even though the bow itself is quite small. And so essentially what you will have here is it will deal damage equal to your agility +1.
Okay.
And it counts as powerful, which means for every bonus die you invest in the strength specialty, you increase the weapon's damage by +1, which is just something to bear in mind for, as you go along.
It's agility +1 for damage, or
Yes,
-1?
the damage is agility +1.
Okay.
But yes, and you're also provided with a quiver of 20 arrows, the appropriate size for the bow.
Cool.
And the hare kind of approaches and says, is there anything else I can do for you, Mr. Gruber, sir?
Perhaps something more sturdy than, and I imagine I haven't changed, so I gesture to the kind of raggedy linens I had been wearing when I first woke up on the beach.
Yes, you, whilst you realize that your party seemed to be a little bit more well armored than you, you are perhaps not particularly protected yourself right now. So you are shown to the kind of armor section, and whilst there isn't a massive selection for smaller beasts, there is still a good kind of variety of each type of armor. You would have a choice between very tough kind of hide armor, but that's been made from some kind of very tough looking, almost, it's not scaled as such, it looks like it was from some oceanic beast of some sort, but it's incredibly tough and not the most flexible. However, they also have ring mail, proper chain mail. In fact, there is some plate here as well. But then there is also bark leather armor of both soft and thick varieties. Basically, anything that you could feasibly think of, you could probably find here. But what would Gruber be after?
Something not very conspicuous. So probably leather, something like as light as possible. I'm also not expecting that I'm going to be front line in any battle, so I don't really need anything that's going to take a lot of damage, just something to kind of protect me from being roughed up.
Yeah, absolutely. As you kind of sift through, you find that there is this soft leather armor that's very supple and moves very comfortably with your body. If you tried it on, it would impede your movement a lot less than some of this heavier armor that you can see lying around. And it, again, is very simple. It's got this dark brown, but very kind of warm, earthy coloration to it. And looks like it would fit you pretty comfortably.
Perfect. That's exactly what I'll take.
Okay, so this armor would have an armor rating of 2, which means it will soak 2 damage from any incoming attacks. However, it does have an armor penalty of just -1. So you just take 1 off of your combat defense.
Okay.
Okay. And is there anything else that Gruber would like to equip himself with?
Maybe you said -1 off of my combat defense?
Yes.
Okay. Bloop. I would like maybe like a knife.
Yeah, absolutely. You are
a little knife, so when people get close, I can be like,
yeah. Okay, so again, you are shown a variety of knives and daggers, each ranging from very decorative to very simple with wooden handles, or some even have carved bone handles that look like, again, the bones of some kind of beastie that was pulled in from the sea, perhaps.
I think for this one, I want something that's really fancy because ideally no one will ever see it. You know, it's going to be like my underwear. So if someone does see it, I want it to look nice. But for the most part, only I know.
Okay, so as you're looking for something a little bit nicer, you find a blade with this slightly burnished but coppery red brassy finish. And the actual brass of the handle has all of these inlaid engravings of vines and roots that tangle and weave together.
That sounds perfect.
Very sharp, very slender blade that you think would be a good kind of piercing weapon. Good.
That's what I want.
All right. So I'm going to give you a few options here. You can give it the stats of just a normal knife, a dagger, a dirk, or a stiletto.
I think a stiletto.
Mm-hmm. So a stiletto deals damage equal to your agility.
Good.
and it has a piercing rating of 2, which means it ignores 2 points of enemy armor because it's essentially an assassin's blade.
Ha 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 ha. Cool.
Okay.
I feel decked out. I feel sexy. I feel protected.
Fantastic. And as this hair is showing Gruber all these different sections of the armory and making sure Gruber is all kitted out as best as can be, another hair pops out from behind the archway and saunters up to Asha. Asha, my lord, your own armor from before when you left here last is kept over here if you'd like to follow me.
Perfect, of course.
And you are led to a slightly offshoot of the main armory, which it feels like an expanded... you know when you have dressing rooms which have their own walk-in closets? It feels a bit like that. And you can see robes, tunics, capes, all in different fine colours. Perhaps a tiny bit dusty. They clearly haven't been worn for a long time. But at the end of this walk-in closet and mounted on a rack on display, you see a set of armor made for your size. Could you tell me what kind of armor Asha would be interested in wearing?
Oh boy, here's where I got held up a little. Because as much as I want to say that of course Asher has, full plate sitting at home. I also, he's going to be running around, and maybe, mobility is something. So I got caught between, I got a three-way split between, mail, a brigandine, or full plate.
Interesting.
And if I was like metagaming, it would be mail, because, of course, that's the most mobility. And then, of course, when I first imagined them, it's like, oh yeah, brigandine, because I thought, brigandines have mobility. Surprisingly, they don't. So anyway, I am caught in a three-way split, Rachel, and I need you to help me. I need you to save me.
Oh no. Okay, so think about mail. Mail is more flexible inherently, which allows a better degree of movement. It won't stop the impacts quite like full or even half plate would. However, it can also still be very resplendent. It could easily be made to look fit for a lord. And it's kind of the best of both worlds. You would undoubtedly have a set of full plate accessible to you one way or another, because it's almost like a ceremonial, something that every potential badge lord will have. So the full plate is there. The full plate is there on the rack on display, resplendent with the light glittering off of it. But then you do also see the very long mail shirt, which would probably go down past your knees in order to get that good level of protection, which you would wear underneath you would wear that on top of a shirt to protect your fur from the steel and the oil that you would work into the rings to stop them from rusting. But then often over the top of the mail, you would probably wear like another layer of tunics and tabards as well. And those you could have, and you would definitely have tunics and tabards that have been sewn and embroidered with the current kind of decorative livery of Salamander Strawn seems to be derived from Hilda Silverstripe, which is this very navy blue and silver combination of colors, and this pattern that tends to include stars and constellations seems to be her personal heraldry, which you can kind of see has been worked into the clothing that is on display for you. Other options, you could just take a very thick steel breastplate rather than go for the full plate, which would have similar stats to mail. Whilst it would be obviously very protective, it doesn't cover the whole body, so it doesn't give you the same benefits as a full plate might. But it is more maneuverable because it's not impacting your arms and legs. So, I mean, Asha is the prince here. He has access to a wide variety of armors that might suit him. It's what he feels he would like to take with him on this particular quest.
I think, and I'm looking at the PDF for Song of Aspire as well. I think probably best of both worlds might just be half plate. That's a mix of mail and plate. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, it's not as middle of the road as it sounds, but I think that if he was picking something, he would want to keep, the gorget. He'd want to keep the pauldrons and bracers and everything else.
Definitely.
But maybe just have a little more movement around the middle.
Yeah.
Especially since he's probably gained a little weight since the last time he wore
That's true. Perhaps you have obviously discovered through your visions that you were at Redwall for some time, and they are, you're pretty sure maybe the food there might have even been better than here at Salamander. So perhaps you are a little bit more chonky than you were when you left Salamander, but all the better for it.
Right. So yeah, I think I will go with half plate and hope for the best.
Okay, so for everyone else's benefit, half plate gives you an armor rating of 9, which means you can soak 9 points of damage every time something hits you, which is a lot. We've got a proper tank here. However, it comes with an armor penalty of -5 to your combat defense. Which obviously...
Sorry, I was going to say, I think I have a point of bulk as well, but please.
It has, yes, technically it has a bulk of 3. We haven't really been worrying about bulk so far because it's more to do with carrying capacity, and I'm not worrying about that level of crunch for this game, if that makes sense. I don't think you're ever going to be over encumbered by your carrying capacity, so I'm not worrying about that too much.
Okay.
But yes, so you you get strapped in. You have to, the other thing about plate and half plate is you do need someone to help you put it on, because coming from a LARPer experience who has worn steel plate armor, you can't put that stuff on yourself.
Can't reach his buckles.
Yeah. Thankfully, however, you have many hairs around you that help you kind of strap all of this armor on, kit you up ready for a day's travel. And you catch yourself in a mirror at the other end of this dressing room closet, and you have to admit, you look pretty lordly in this attire.
I do. As far as the shield goes,
Yes.
That's defensive +2 because I'm just going with the traditional.
Yes, it's a round shield. So yes, the normal shield has defensive +2. I believe that is to your combat defense. So it makes up for some of the full plate. And you can also make a shield bash with it, which the damage would equal your athletics -2.
Athletics -2?
Yes. Because it's not
And
really made for...
Oh, sure. I think I have... Okay, never mind. That is the attack that you were referencing there. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, as for weaponry, is there anything specific that Asha would look for in the armories of Salamanders before you set out?
Yeah, I think I'm opposite of the spectrum from Holt, who has one weapon and then himself. I think Asher loves weapons. I am thinking probably a long sword and maybe a hand axe, just kind of strapped to the belt.
Okay, so for a longsword, it is worth mentioning that a proper longsword is a two-handed blade. So you'd have to have your shield essentially out of the way whilst you wield it. However, you could get a bastard blade, or also known as a hand and a half sword, which is just slightly shorter to make it able to be wielded one-handed. I
will go with the hand and a half then.
Yeah, and there is actually practically no difference with a hand and a half sword. They both do athletics +1 damage.
Okay.
And also have a adaptable ability, which means if you do decide to use it with two hands, you can add +1 to the weapon's damage.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shopping episode. Just at the start, as we get everyone kitted out for a long journey. Was there anything else that Asha was after?
I think I'm going to take a hand axe and
Cool,
probably
yeah.
call that good enough.
Hand axe, you can definitely go. That's athletics -1. However, it does have a few extra perks. Firstly, it can be a defensive weapon, which means you can have it in your offhand and use it defensively. So when you're using it defensively, you get +1 to your combat defense. Say if you had your shield on your back, but you had both weapons. It also has offhand +1. So weapons in A Song of Ice and Fire, as you might imagine, are very crunchy. Cool, so what this means as an offhand, it means if you make a greater action to attack with both weapons, the Bastard Sword and the hand axe, you can add the modifier for offhand to your damage, which means you can add +1 to the damage if you choose a greater action to attack with both, essentially.
Cool.
And that's all the stats for that one.
I was going to say, I'm considering it as a thrown item too, so
yeah.
I do see it's for close range on that, for just regular athletics.
Yes, I would say if you're throwing it, that would use agility as damage instead.
Okay, cool. And
okay.
yes, I will yield what is already way too much of my time.
We have a walking badger armory. But yes, as you were all kitted out, you're also given much finer, more comfortable clothing than the kind of ragtag clothes you had before. Some of you started to kind of get this last episode. Gruber, you are outfitted with any form of clothing you desire, any colors, any kind of prints that Gruber would see and think, yeah, that's what I'd like to wear.
I would like to wear something. Does camo exist in this world?
So rather than traditional camo, what you would find is this dark green, kind of woolen style cloth, which would have kind of strands of a more browny tones kind of woven into it. It's like a fabric that's been woven from a few different neutral tones that looks very neutral and kind of like a bit of a camo-y overtone to it.
Yeah, I want a camo cloak.
Yeah.
And listen, okay. Gruber's got street smarts. I know what it's about. But I think I'll wear my leather armor pretty constantly. So yeah, I think just a cloak, maybe some fingerless gloves.
Yeah. You do initially struggle to find any that fit your very large mole paws, which despite you're a very small beast, but you have huge hands with these long, blunt claws. But you, perhaps with the help of a few of the hares as they see what you're trying to find, manage to find something that works.
Okay. I think that's it. Do we need to wear shoes? Do animals need to wear shoes?
Not really. Shoes aren't such a thing in this universe. You've got like tough paw pads that are designed for exactly this sort of lifestyle.
Oh,
thank you for asking that. I wondered that for so. I see pictures with like them in boots and then like bare paws.
Yeah.
Which is it, Redwall?
Which is it?
Thank you.
It's kind of a stylistic choice. You can wear boots if you want to, but you don't need to.
Do they have sunglasses? I need sunglasses.
You do when you ask about it. They kind of seem to recognize what you're talking about, and they do have a very, very small collection of kind of specifically mole-made and for other creatures that perhaps are more used to being active at night. These little round, blacked-out glass spectacles.
That's exactly what I want.
Excellent.
And I just imagine Gruber has no fashion sense, so I probably look awful. I'm wearing like sunglasses, a cape, fingerless gloves.
Perfect.
It's very Matrix. You're like 200 years but behind the fashion, or ahead of the fashion, rather.
So, now that all of you have been given the kit you require, and during this time, perhaps in all looking through all of this new equipment and new belongings, you're a bit excited and maybe didn't notice, but Lady Anastagia had a bit of a lie-in compared to the rest of you, maybe took the most of having a nice comfortable bed, knowing that she wouldn't have one for a little while. And she does get up a little after you guys and make sure that she also has all the kit that she requires. It seems to be a little quiet. Perhaps maybe the idea of leaving this wonderful stately fortress is a little bit of a downer, but even so, kind of falls in behind the rest of you as you are indicated to make your way down towards the main feasting hall. And indeed, the energy in the mountain of Salamander Strong this morning is electric. The fortress is abuzz with activity as you each poke your noses outside the door to outside the door of the armory, and you can see hares now rushing this way and that with messages, orders, arms full of armor and weapons, or just dashing from breakfast with a pastry half eaten in one paw. It's not long after dawn at the moment, and already you can definitely smell this very delicious scent of breakfast wafting up through the passageways. And you can hear distant shouting and orders and what might be the sound of kind of drills off in the distance. What would you like to do?
I think Holt is just strolling down the stairs, walking through this thing. If there's any food on the table, he can't help but stop, pause for a moment, maybe like take one. He very much wants to move, but there's food. He's gonna just start taking
absolutely. So as you head down the steps, down to that kind of base level of the mountain, and you turn the corner into the feasting hall, you see that those long benches that had been pushed aside for the dancing have now been replaced, and there are scores of hares cramming breakfast. But you do see on the head table where you were sitting last night, you can see several places made up, and what looks like oat and honey cakes, which have kind of been mashed into these like sweet kind of cake-shaped balls. You can see bowls of hot porridge with green sap milk and elderflower cordial has all been set out for you. And in the center of this big head table, you can see the enormous figure of Lady Hilda is in her enormous badger chair, getting on with her own breakfast. And as she looks up, she notices you and waves you over with a paw.
And Holt sort of looks past himself and then starts moving
she nods
towards
slowly.
her. And then starts moving towards that sort of almost like the sway because of the tail. But
natural swagger.
Starts to walk. Exactly, he's got natural swagger. He sort of struts over towards her.
All right, how about the rest of you?
I'll go down the stairs and when I see Lady Hilda, I'll walk over and give her a peck on the cheek.
She just smiles. And Gruber?
I'm definitely staying close to Holt, kind of hiding behind him as best I can, but peering out at everyone suspiciously and kind of like trying to keep track of who is who and where they are. And
there are a lot of hares in this room, like over 100 easily, and they're all very, very loud, and they're all very, very merry, and they're all tucking into breakfast. There is a seat made up for you at this head table, and all of you have a very generous breakfast in front of each of you. Lady Hilda looks at all of you in turn and smiles. Good morning. I trust you slept well last night. No more visions keeping you awake?
And Holt looks at that, morning, Mom, and does like a quick bow and immediately tucks. Like you hear that sound of wood scraping along the stone floor as he tucks his chair in and starts digging into breakfast.
Morning, Mother. No visions, I believe. Not on my part.
That is very good to hear, and what a pleasure to see our mole friend awake. How are you finding the mountain? Gruber, was it?
So, you're Holt's mom?
No.
No.
I am Asha's mother.
That's what I meant. I said Holt, and I don't know why, but I meant
Holt's
Asha.
like, what?
Yes, that is correct.
By choice?
What does
That's
that
what
mean?
tends to happen when you give birth to a child.
Ah. Yes. Rabbit. Yes.
And you see that
Mhm.
this lady Hilda is an enormous badger, and she is older.
Oh, I thought she was a rabbit too.
No, she's definitely a badger, and she's somewhat larger.
The room is
Asha.
full of rabbits. I just assumed she
full of
was a
hairs.
rabbit.
You're looking
like,
at their hair like slightly off to the left. She's like, what?
There's a slightly awkward silence as she just kind of looks at you curiously.
I thought you like Gruber was having a stroke. He's just like, yeah, rabbits. Yeah, this isn't like a Kung Fu Panda sort of thing where like the panda is like a duck dad.
We found him in a vegetable box.
So
All
the
right,
badger's
okay.
the otter's mom.
You do notice,
The
however,
rabbit's mom, okay.
she is the only other badger. on
Okay,
this place.
okay.
Everyone else is a hare.
Okay. Where are we? What's the name of the place?
Salamander Strong.
Do I know anything about Salamander Strong? I have a high lore rating.
Ooh, let's have a lore roll then, shall we?
So remind me how the rolls work.
Of course. Roll a number of d6s equal to your rank in lore. And if you have a specialty for anything, you add those as bonus dice. Oh, wow. Yeah, you do have a high lore. Yeah, you've definitely heard of Salamanderstron. In fact, you remember maybe when you were younger, again, the memories are still foggy, but you remember that somewhere at some point you definitely read about this ancient badger-ruled fortress that always has one badger lord or lady that rules over an army known as the Long Patrol, which is formed of anywhere between 100 to 1,000 hares at any one time.
In my dreams or whatever, did I what am I asking here? Do I remember why I was on the ship that is allegedly was full of prisoners?
So, you do not remember why you were on the ship. However, you do remember vaguely, you remember this fox figure that you recall from before, mentioning that you were to be taken to serve a Empress Dagmira Stone Eyes.
Okay. Is there a little place for notes on this? No. Just do it in the margins.
I just use the back of my character sheet.
But the back of my character sheet doesn't exist because I'm using a PDF.
Oh, no.
It's mine.
Okay. I'm like still trying to figure out, I guess, what Goober's personality is. So I'm just gonna say that Goober is tired, he's suspicious, and he has no tact. So I'm gonna ask mommy here if she knows of Princess Dagger Jewel Diamond Eyes.
She shakes her head slowly. I am not familiar with any empress on this continent, at least. It is not something that we beasts of the woodlands have not had for a very long time any form of emperor or monarchy. My hares serve me because they choose to and because I have earned their trust. However, it is curious that you would remember an empress of some sort. I will endeavor to do some more research myself whilst you are on your travels and let you know of anything I find. I'm sorry I cannot answer your question any more succinctly.
Thank you. That was not helpful, but perhaps We can find our own answers, and then I'm just going to start eating.
That's
Is there any
fine.
gluten in this?
She shakes her muzzle. No, these are porridge, which is oats, and also these are oat and honey cakes, which again do not contain any wheat flour in them. I think oats are all right.
Guess we'll find out.
She nods. She looks a little bit concerned at you every now and again, but turns back to the group as a whole. Says, "So I trust you will be leaving soon, yes?"
That's the plan.
And if you could please say back to me what your group's specific goals are at this time.
I believe we're headed to Mossflower Wood.
Mm-hmm.
Fine Rib, the big place, the warn people that there's an army coming, like, and he sort of like says this with like pastries in each hand, in each paw.
Yes,
and
yes.
hopefully improve their defenses and save their lives.
Indeed. Redwall must be warned of the horde as it approaches, and if you are able to find any other allies that can aid in the, doubtless oncoming conflict, that might also save further lives. Now, I had looked through my archives, and whilst most of my hares do know by heart the woodland trails, I fear the four of you might have forgotten any knowledge you might have had previously of the trails through the woodlands. So I have procured this. And she reaches down for something that was resting on the flagstones next to her paw and brings out this this kind of scroll case, which she cracks the top open and unfurls a large map. And you see as she points to this one lonely-looking huge mountain by the seaside. This is where you are now. This is Salamander. As you can see from this map, you're going to need to journey east for about 4 days to reach the Abbey of Redwall.
And like Holt sort of goes to touch the map like with his paw to like follow the trail, and then looks at it, wipes it on this new armor, and then sort of like hovers over and tries to follow exactly what she's saying.
Holt, could you make an awareness check for me?
You can certainly try.
It's going to be fairly easy.
Oh my gosh!
What a
I've
roll
broken
for
my
Holt.
streak. I've broken my streak.
You have indeed. Holt, as you are looking at this map, you see a couple of small verses written on the bottom left corner. Indeed, you notice that this map itself seems to be very old, but you see what looks like a very short poem on the bottom left.
What's that?
Oh, that is an old ditty that I believe was used to help remember the way to Redwall itself. I'm not sure what all of it means, as it was written a very long time ago. However, it might be worth paying attention to help you stay on the right path.
I love ditties.
And as the three of you kind of look closer at this very small handwriting, you see this very short pair of verses that read, "East you must go, follow dawn's glowing light, until you reach Mossflower, where day is as night. Find thee the river, against the flow do keep, beware of the place where dark wings find sleep. Trees that choke ensnare those beneath, but a friend you might find armed with metal teeth. Seek the dirt path, listen for the brothers' call, and you will return safely home to Redwall." And I will copy and paste that in chat for you guys as well.
That's a good idea because my notes on it are pretty weird.
I got east you must go. That's it.
There we go. I popped it in Zoom for you guys.
Thank you. Mother, is there any advice you could have as far as the allies we're supposed to be making along the way?
In terms of allies, well, there are several independent groups that do dwell within Mossflower before you will reach Redwall. For example, there are several squirrel drays you might encounter, which, whilst they do like to keep to themselves and tend to be a more insular bunch, if you explain the threat of the oncoming horde to them, they might band together with you for the sake of keeping the forest free from such intruders. I would not advise seeking out the reptilian clans that dwell. They tend to have a deep-seated distrust of our kind, understandably so, as there's been much bloodshed between us in the past, which is regrettable. Unfortunately, does not lend way to being good allies. And lastly, if they are at the current point in the western part of Mossflower, if you are to encounter the Guosim, they are fantastic allies if you can stop them fighting amongst themselves long enough to work with you.
Sorry, that was Grossum?
Guosim. Oh, I forget. Sorry, you probably don't remember. It stands for the... hold on, let me try and remember what their little ditty goes. Guosim, the Guerrilla Union of Shrews in Mossflower.
Interesting.
The good thing about them is if you can convince their Logolog to work with you, the rest of the clan should follow.
Thank you, that's incredibly helpful.
Not at all. I trust you will probably want to leave after you are done breaking your fast.
And after we make sure we have enough provisions for the journey.
Oh, of course. As you speak, I am ensuring that my hares are packing a travel pack for each of you, which would give you plenty of rations to see you all the way to Redwall. And extras, no doubt, because if they're packing as they would for a hare, there'll be 3 times as much food as you will actually need.
You see Holt like smile at that, like just the nod.
Is there anything else at all that I can provide for you before you set off?
I'm good. And like he's still like eating through, like working his way through these pastries. Like, I'm ready to go if you are. Like still eating, but turning to his friends.
Like getting up from the table and still grabbing food. No, I think we have places to be that aren't here.
Very well. And you see as Hilda herself gets up from the table, and a lot of the hares are looking a little bit sadly towards your group. It seems that they are quite enjoying having newcomers here, especially after the feasting and dancing of the night before. But Hilda firstly walks up to Holt, and she puts these huge badger arms around you, Holt, and pulls you into this hug.
He sort of like, it's like a shock at first, then he's like, oh, and he sort of like rests his head on and gives her a pat, like as if it was his own mother.
And as you think this, Holt, could you roll a will check for me?
Will check. Yes, I can. Come on, keep those
no.
rolls up.
I'm getting a taste of my medicine right now. My partner's cooking and I can smell it.
I'm sorry, I'm just happy I've not got any nat ones.
No, that's a really good roll. As she involves you into this warm hug, your vision swims a little bit and you have a distinct memory across your mind. You remember being held very close by these warm arms that just make you feel endlessly safe and secure and deeply happy deep inside you. And then you see yourself breaking away from this embrace, but you are not embracing Lady Hilda. You are embracing an otter who seems to be much larger than you and has a very soft, smiling, motherly expression to her. And she is dressed in what looks to be a very flower-dusted apron, but you don't seem to be in any kind of building. And you feel that she is holding you gently under your armpits. And you realize you're very, very small at this time. and you feel as if you're being carried, and then she leans over and gently moves as if she's going to put you down on something. But instead of feeling a hard surface against your back, you feel a sudden chill sensation of cold running water against your fur on your back. And it's uncomfortable at first, but then after a moment, it seems like great fun. It seems exciting, exhilarating, and it fills you with this happiness. And you find yourself almost just giggling there as she holds you very carefully before she picks you up and brings you back and kind of holds you in her arms. And then from all around you hear this cheering and clapping and this kind of general festive celebratory air as you turn and realize that you're in a forest by a river, and you're surrounded by otters, and a very large male otter who's standing not that far away walks up to you and throws a hug around both you and the female that was carrying you before the vision dissipates again and you are holding Lady Hilda before she lets you go.
He can't quite help but sort of like twitch his whiskers and just rest his head on like the badger's shoulder when she hugs him, almost as if he's trying to cling onto that memory or that vision just briefly, but then soon realizes what he's doing, pushes up, is like we will be back soon, and leaves, like walks, like steps away from the awkward situation.
She just smiles and nods and says, I do hope we do. Please take care of my son for me.
Yep, no, of course, got it. Like, he does like a weird salute that he's seen the patrol doing.
And then Lady Hilda crosses and she gives a slightly more delicate hug to Lady Anastagia. You're not sure whether this is on her behalf or Anastasia's, but there is a slightly prickly hug shared between the two. But nonetheless, like plenty of smiles between them, and kind of a bit of a knowing wink from Lady Hilda as she grins at Anastasia before she turns to Gruber and says, I don't think we've known each other quite long enough, perhaps, for me to assume you would want a hug. However, and she holds out a massive paw to shake yours, Gruber, says, I thank you for helping my son safely to Salamanderstron, and I hope that your journeys onwards are successful and that you two stay safe.
I take her hand and I shake it. Are our hands about equal size, though, because I have such big hands?
Hers are still slightly bigger than yours.
Yeah. I shake her hand and I say, don't worry, I have a nose for these types of situations, and I've never once got lost in a forest. I'm pretty sure that's true.
She gives this very hearty belly laugh and says, I'm sure that is the case, brave Moor. And I do hope that in time you will return to visit Salamanderstron. There will always be a feast to welcome you home. And lastly, she straightens up and turns to Asha, and she puts both of her huge paws on your shoulders. Asha, you don't need me to tell you that I hope you come home safely, for I am sure you know. However, you also know that the ancestors go with you on this quest of yours, and they too will be watching over you, as I will. Just remember to visit Salamanderstron from time to time, alongside protecting the Abbey of Redwall, yes?
Of course, Father, this will always be my home.
She smiles and pulls you in for a very tight bear hug.
While we're hugging, I want to whisper, oh, by the way, I know that Anastasia wasn't really a lady, but I made her a lady. I didn't know if I could do that, but I did it, so just
again,
heads up.
you feel her chuckle as she lets go of you and says, well, henceforth we will ensure here at Salamanderstron she is always treated with the countenance she deserves.
Indeed.
And she straightens up, and you see her kind of shake her head a little bit, almost as if she's very hard trying not to show how emotional she is on her face. That's right. Well, You better not tarry around here much longer. You want to make the most of your day of travel.
Very well. Let us hit the road.
And she walks with you through the feasting hall as Asha, you begin to lead the way. And indeed, there is almost a procession of hares that seem to follow you behind as you make your way towards the mouth of the great doors that lead out of the fortress. All of them are plying you with more food, little trinkets, little favors, things like little pieces of ribbon or little carved knickknacks that they've made, all their own way of wishing you luck as you make your way towards the exit.
Holt like waves at the kids, like all the Dibbons that were climbing on him the night before. It's just like
you see the Dibbons which were brought downstairs for breakfast only a little while ago, as it's still very early, sleepily kind of wave at you with both hands and ears.
Asher's taking some of the ribbon and he's tying it to the hilt of his bastard sword, his hand and a half, so it kind of has like a little wave coming off it.
And before it seems very long at all, you are parting from the fortress through the huge double mahogany doors, which have been opened as you pass underneath. And it's striking to be suddenly back out in the sunlight of day after being inside the mountain for such a long time. But you can see where a path leads away towards the east, and in the distance, in the far distance, you can see the edge of the great Mossflower woods. In between, here and there are sand dunes for a little way, and then there is this moorland terrain with lots of gorse and heather. But the way is open, you see no other soul on the path, and you are free to begin the next leg of your journey.
Holt like takes a big deep breath and his shoulders go up and down. He's like, shall we then? And starts sort of doing that trudge that he always does towards the forest edge.
Who has a map?
It would not be Holt.
Let's say we were shown the map. I have the map for now. Would you like the map, Gruber? Would you like to be Navigator?
I think that would be best. My nose is much more sensitive than yours, and I have sunglasses now.
All of those facts are indisputable.
I hold my hand out for the map.
And the map is yours.
I throw it over my shoulder. We don't need that.
Holt runs behind, picking it up. Like, oh no!
For a second, I thought you were gonna like stow it like a broadsword behind your back.
No.
I mean, it kind of is in like a scroll case kind of situation.
Holt, hold the map, but I assure you we will not need it. And I'm going to drop to all fours and I'm going to start like sniffing the ground and like picking up dirt and like rubbing it between my fingers. Wait, is there someone with us? Someone else? Okay.
There are some hares still watching from the door to the mountain. And as you sniff the ground and drop to all fours, your sensitive senses do in fact tell you there is a path.
Nice.
That you could all see.
Nice.
Yeah, we were just waiting for Gruber to find the path as I cling to this map, which I'd like to adjust like and put over my shoulder.
Yeah,
like,
you can wear it like
quiver.
a shoulder strap, yeah, with the quiver.
I point to the path and say, I have found the way forward. And then I wait for someone else to go first. I'm going to navigate from behind.
Okay, so we have a navigator. Other roles that each of you could take. Someone could be on watch to see if anyone is following you or anyone is kind of keeping tabs on your travel, or any other kind of activity that you might want to do whilst you are traveling. This can also be foraging for food or other rations.
I can forage.
Like, I think Holt will probably, just out of habit, just if he walks in front, if no one stops, it's more that he's just trudging. He's been told where to go, so he is going. He now has a path.
Okay.
Masterfully identified by Gruber.
I like to feel like I like to think that there's like a path marker that's like this
a
way,
signpost,
and I'm like I was on the ground right in front of the signpost.
It's just a signpost that says Mossflower.
Pretty much. It's worth noting that if whoever navigates can't also forage. It's kind of like one person has to take each roll.
Oh, okay.
I will navigate since Gruber has thrown our navigation to the wind, literally. Yeah, I will navigate.
But I'm a good navigator. I have orientation.
And they did
Well,
find the path.
rather-
They did find the path.
I did find the path.
Would you rather forage or would you rather navigate? I will leave that to you.
I'll navigate, and then when we rest, I'll forage. Is that possible?
Yeah,
I mean, we have provisions. We don't really even need to forage.
I will just use my awareness to keep an eye out for anything.
Okay.
Out.
And
Striding.
Holt, you're just striding.
I am striding.
Okay. So as you take on the first couple of hours of travel, I would like a navigation roll from, which was B law from Gruber. I would like an awareness roll from Asha.
You said navigation was lore?
I think so, yes. Unless I've put it under something else.
That's an 18.
Ooh. Okay. So with those rolls, which are very good, firstly, Asha, you don't see anything watching you. As far as you can tell, the kind of moorland between here and the this coastal moor kind of environment between here and the edge of the forest is very barren. You don't see any other soul, just countless kind of carpets of this purple heather and yellow gorse, which is just kind of ending its flowering cycle for this season. And underfoot, it's quite rough. It's not the easiest terrain. The ground dips and rises a lot. And it's obviously there are fallen gorse prickles everywhere, and you have to push through things occasionally when the path gets a little thinner. However, thanks to Gruber's keen eye, you never leave the path, and you are able to stick to it all the way to the edge of the forest as you're traveling. And indeed, as you find yourself at the very edge of where the trees begin, you can see whereas the sun is kind of shining down on you, there are a few more clouds now that have kind of come together in the blue sky. But you can see that once you step foot inside the forest, the light dims a lot and it becomes a lot darker, as this forest is very dense and the trees tower high with these very thick canopies.
That's just like the poem set, where day is as night.
Didn't the poem also say to watch out for things that sleep in the night?
Where dark wings find sleep.
Holt's just looking up into the trees suspiciously as these are sort of being said. It's like, I mean, I remember we were supposed to go east.
And we must find a river. I'm gonna get down on the ground again and sniff for water.
Okay, make another navigation check. Holt, could you make a nature check for me?
Yes, I can. Oh my. Okay. There's that nat one.
Okay, Holt, from what you are sure is the universal truth, lots of creatures sleep in the trees at night. Any kind of climbing creatures, flying creatures, anything could be up there.
Yeah, he's literally wandering around like he's sort of retracted into his shoulders a little bit as he's looking around. He's like, anything could be in those trees. I'm just saying. I don't know if it's good or if it's bad.
Well, only things that climb can be in the trees. Or things that fly.
Fly could be up there.
Or things
like,
that have sticky legs.
What has sticky legs?
Bugs.
Oh. How big are these bugs?
Well, if gravity is low here, they could be huge.
Holt just absorbing information.
However, with your role, Gruber, you are kind of sniffing carefully, and you do have a phenomenal sense of smell as a mole. And you can just about pick up the scent of like wet earth and maybe running water. You can definitely smell the ground is like wet ground coming from further along this path that you are already on ahead.
I point into the direction that I'm smelling the wet earth. And I say, that way to the river, and then we just have to walk upstream.
I mean, I could do with the river right now. It would be quite nice to see it.
Can you breathe underwater?
It's not so much breathing underwater as in holding my breath for a good amount of time.
How long can you hold your breath for?
A long time. I could show you.
Okay.
I can swim real good.
Can moles swim? Can badgers swim? Can hedgehogs swim?
You're not sure if you can swim, Gruber. You can't remember. You reckon you'd have to be submerged in water and then find out.
These questions need asked.
Well, at the very least, we know we do need to go to the river, so let's do that.
It's alright, I'll carry you if you can't.
I can only doggy paddle.
I remember reading a book about an alligator who said that he was going to carry the weasel on his back, and then he ate him.
I'm sorry, I don't eat mole.
That's what the alligator said to the weasel.
Yeah, but that's a weasel.
But Holt, you do remember you were disguised basically as a weasel only a day before.
Oh, an alligator.
I fear this is getting convoluted. Let's go to the river.
Alright. He starts walking towards the river.
And walk you do. It seems that Gruber's sense of smell is incredibly sensitive because you are walking for a long time. Hours pass as you continue along this thin path under this impressive canopy of trees. And there are times when the sunlight dapples through the leaves with this very pleasant kind of stippling of light on the forest floor ahead of you. But there are also times when it's so thick that it feels like it could be late evening. And as you continue walking, you realize actually it probably must be nearly evening by now. And you also realize it's gotten colder. And it's Asha, as you are kind of making your way along this path, you are the first one to feel a big droplet of rain hit your nose. And within a couple of minutes, it seems the sky has rather opened up and a proper downpour begins to drench all of you.
And like Holt just closes his eyes and just looks up and just lets the rain sort of fall onto him.
Gruber, you realize that with this downpour of rain, you now cannot tell the scent of wet ground or the scent of running water apart from the very heavy smell of dry earth that's being rained on for the first time in a while.
How long at this point have we been walking? Like, would it be appropriate to call it a night and resume in the morning?
It has been a long time. You reckon it must be at the very least late afternoon, evening. However, you also kind of know that it would be a bit of a struggle to get a proper restful sleep if you're out in the open. So you could try and find somewhere a bit more sheltered to camp.
Well, as sensitive as my nose is, when everything is wet, it's a little difficult for me to discern river from rain. I could try and find us a cave or a sheltered tree grove to rest in, or we can keep going this way.
Well, I guess that all depends on how we feel. Oh, you seem to be having a great time. Gruber, are you all right with the rain?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I suppose we should rest for the evening. We don't want to be overly exhausted.
And you do feel like your stomachs are kind of growling a bit as well.
Not
Gruber,
gonna
could you find us a place?
Of course. I stick my finger in my mouth and I hold it up to the air. And then I turn in a circle really fast and I like snuff my feet in the dirt. And then I drop to all fours and I sniff around and I like turn over rocks and stuff. And I'm going to look for a sheltered spot.
All right, roll another kind of navigation lore check.
landed by another signpost.
Oof, you're good at these. So you do your complicated kind of pre-navigation ritual to impress your party members. And as you are kind of looking around, you kind of scuttle into one patch of trees and then to the next. You spot what seems to be a looming shape through the trees ahead of you. It's just off the path.
I found something.
Holt sort of looks down and he's just soaking it. He's like, oh, right, yeah, all right, I'm coming. He sort of waddles over.
And you do notice that Lady Anastagia seems to be very uncomfortable with this red, whether she's kind of looking at like, oh, goodness, no, just seems to genuinely not be enjoying this downpour, perhaps as much as you are, Holt.
I think Asher is trying to like hold his shield over her as a makeshift umbrella, but it's not as effective.
Indeed, and Gruber, as you kind of lead the way through the trees, you find yourself in what was probably once quite a large clearing, but it's very much that nature has overtaken. What you see in front of you is a medium-sized ruin of some sort. It looks like it was once a stone fort, or maybe a small chapel. Maybe it has that kind of that kind of almost castle-esque look to it, whilst being quite small. And it looks that in most places the roof of this very tall stone building is still intact. You can see where plants have kind of taken root and found purchase in stone, or woven their roots through the actual stonework or roof itself. But for the most part, it looks to be fairly protected from the elements.
I'm definitely not going to go in first, but I pointed it out.
I can go in. It's all right, wait here. And he sort of, again, just strolls straight in to have a look.
Okay, roll awareness for me, please, Holt.
Oh my goodness, these nat one.
You do all have an advantage. In fact, some of you have several.
Oh yeah, I should have used that.
What I can say for advantage is you can use it to give yourself a bonus dice on the roll to swap for a bad test result.
Okay, so roll another d6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each advantage will count for one bonus. All right, it's a bit better with a 7. So it is very, very dark in here. You can't see much. However, it is dry, and you can feel under your paws that there's just this simple kind of forested floor that seems quite soft. And it seems dry and comfortable and abandoned as far as you can tell.
He sort of like pads around, like making sure everything is okay, and then calls back. He's like, seems all right to me, mates. It's pretty comfy, actually.
Go on.
Yeah, I'll follow.
Holt, just can you maybe draw a weapon next time you go into an unknown?
Why?
You're confident. I love it. I love the confidence.
I don't want to appear as aggressive. And I got these. And he just holds out his paws.
I suppose that's true. You never really are unarmed, are you? No pun intended.
He just looks back and forward at them and smiles.
Just kiss them.
Well, I don't see these coming, so, you know.
You're absolutely right. I was out of line.
No, I get it. I forget.
Wonderful. Gruber, you found us a place to stay. This is amazing.
Okay, and are you going to break out any rations before you settle down for the night?
Poultice, for sure.
So you find that packed in each of your ration sacks are a variety of different kind of foods. You find, obviously, the most numerous is like this trail mix of dried nuts and berries, which are very easy to snack on. There are also these compressed bars of grains and fruits, which seem to have been kind of stuck together with honey. They're very sweet and very Moorish. You each also have a flask of your own supply of elderflower cordial, and obviously when that runs out, you'll be able to fill it up at any nice, clean-looking streams that you come to. And you do see that each of you have also been snuck a small little velvet-tied bag of candied chestnuts.
He's just like, he's sort of drinking it every now and then, like picking into the chestnuts, trying to be. He starts off polite, like he starts off eating delicately, and then it just starts as he gets more and more relaxed.
It is very good, and you do feel like they might have put some special effort into each of your mixes. Gruber, you do find that there is nothing with a gluten content in yours.
Well, I suppose we should set a watch, or... Ooh, how big is the cave entrance?
The actual entrance to this fort isn't very big. It's essentially the size of a large door, because it is a doorway where the wooden door has long since rotted away and been broken in by the elements.
Is the entire fort accessible from where we are?
So
like, have there been any cave-ins?
It doesn't look like there have been any cave-ins. There is this one large doorway on one side of the building, and you can see a few windows where the glass has long since been smashed and removed along the sides, but they're quite small and it would definitely have to be a one creature at a time if anything tried to break in.
Well, I guess before we settle in, given that I navigated us here, so I have kind of an idea of where we are, would I be able to recall any information about a fort in this area or an outpost or anything?
You don't recall anything from the map. It seems that this place has probably been abandoned so long it's not really used by anyone.
What about anything I would have read?
Roll a lore check for me. It's probably quite a difficult one. So, with a 17, whilst you haven't heard of this specific one based on the area you were in, you do know that there are lots of old ruins that do dot Mossflower Woods. Plenty of creatures have had settlements and just moved on or died out and left these ruins behind. You remember reading of one called St. Ninian's, which was supposedly a sort of chapel, which, as far as you remember, is a lot closer to where Redwall is meant to be. And from the description, it's less like a fort and, as I say, more like a chapel. That's the only one you can name, but you do know that it's not unusual to find this sort of place in Mossflower.
Well, either we could set a watch or we can try and block the door. The hole where the door was.
Right. It almost sounds like it's a wide open doorway. I guess looking around, are there loose stone? Is there material that could block the door?
Yeah, you can see that there are a few loose pieces of stone, a few very, very rotten planks of wood. You reckon there must have maybe been benches or some kind of more furniture in here. You also find like an old beam that seems to have just kind of lent over, or might have been a bracket for some torches once. There is enough detritus, you probably could bar the door if you wanted.
I think Asher, especially remembering, a lot of the warfare and tactics and everything else that from his raising at Salamanders, is going to try to improvise a barricade of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Okay, make a craft roll for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Either craft or warfare. If I left warfare as a stat, I might not have done.
I don't think you did.
Okay, craft it is then.
Cool. Yeah. Triple threes.
Triple three with a 9. Yeah, you can make a passable barricade. It would probably not take too long to break. What I'm going to say is this barricade of yours, if someone is just trying to break it down, it essentially has 9 hit points, because that's your test result. And yeah, you can place this in front of the door from your side.
I still don't think it's the worst idea to maybe do a watch, and I don't mind doing the first.
Wake me up afterwards, mate. I don't mind watching.
It is very, very dark in here now, especially as you've kind of blocked the door.
Do we have any torches in our pack?
Yeah, you will have torches in your pack. You will have flint and tinder.
Cool. I'll light. Would it be safe to start a fire in this room?
I mean, you're not completely sure. There are windows, so the smoke could feasibly escape, but there isn't really a smoke hole in the roof. Well, actually, you say that, but you can see patches in the roof there might be holes.
I'm going to start a fire.
Okay. Roll a survival a stat. Yes, roll
Survival
a survival check.
is.
Okay, yeah, you make a very nice, neat, crackling fire, which instantly brings warmth to this rather cold and drab building.
Gruber's still wearing
Nice.
sunglasses.
Let the reflection, the badass reflection.
Yeah, you just see
Yeah,
the
I just
fire
make the
explosive.
fire and then I just throw the match onto the fire and then I walk away. No, I'm taking my sunglasses off.
Okay.
I'm cleaning them right now.
Gruber's like an 80s action movie come to life.
It's like the Blues Brothers. It's a full pack
He
of
is.
cigarettes. It's dark and we're wearing sunglasses.
Well, there's that song, I wear my sunglasses at night. That's,
Halt's probably steaming a little bit because he
There is
goes
a
up
wet
really
dog
He's
smell.
just yeah, it's that sort of thing as he sits near the fire and tries to warm up a bit, and you can probably see that steam coming off of his fur. Eating at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so once you kind of worked through the rations you want for this evening, who would like to take first watch?
yes, I will.
Okay. So Gruber and Holt, are you settling down for the night?
Yeah, Holt will probably curl up fairly near the fire and sort of looks over at Asha and be like, "You wake me when you need me."
Will do.
And sort of curls up, almost like how cats curl up with his tail wrapped around him all the way up, almost touching his forehead.
Okay.
I am going to sleep on the other side of the fire, and then once I feel that Holt is asleep, I'm gonna slowly shimmy, while I'm laying down, I'm gonna shimmy closer to him.
Do a mole roll.
And do a mole roll and sleep with my back to his back.
Okay.
And Asher is going... Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Anastagia has also kind of made a little bed for herself with her bedroll and just tried to make as most comfortable and neat little sleeping area as she can. And Asha, you are seemingly the only conscious member of the party as you begin your watch. Could you please make an awareness check for me? as you have a bit of time just to sit back and soak in all the sounds around you of the rain. Now everyone has settled down.
Yeah, so that's a 12. So yeah, he's kind of propped up some more stone, just kind of has his back to it, just facing the improvised barricade. Just, shield on his arm, hand on the hilt of his sword, but not drawn.
So as you kind of try and find a comfy spot to sit down, you're kind of shuffling, as you're kind of moving your bulk, you kind of put your paws to the ground, and you realize this, the floor of this fort really is very comfortable. It's much softer even now you really come to think of it than the forest floor is. And as you look down at your paws, you can see amid the very dark kind of stone and dirt and leaves of the ground that you're sitting on, there is something else mixed in with the leaf litter. You kind of rifle your paws through a little bit as you see several long, iridescent black feathers. And as you see these feathers, you hear a shuffling from above you.
Is this something where he would have to roll to make the connection, or are you going to let me make?
I'm going to say whatever connection you make, Asha can make.
I think as he sees the black feathers, his mind had gone to two animals when he was reading the poem. He thought potentially bats, because bats were mentioned on the map. There was a whole cave of them. Or he thought of crows or ravens, black feathered birds. And when he sees those, it snaps to him that, oh, we're in the place where Darkwings sleep. And he is going to draw his sword and shout towards the others and attempt to wake them as the music changes.
Okay, so as soon as you draw your sword and you turn to your
Guys, the music has changed. Guys, the music has changed. We gotta get up.
What?
There is a sudden flurry activity from above you, and you can see numerous black silhouettes now shuffling amongst those dark spaces in the rafters far above you, where even the light of the fire couldn't quite reach. And as you were able to spot them before they were hoping you might just fall asleep, we are going to all need to roll initiative. So as a reminder for how this works in the A Song of Ice and Fire role-playing game, everyone makes an agility check. And I make agility checks as well. Where's my document?
It's a 5 for me.
Nice.
Got that
How
ball.
is this mole just like a badass?
You rolled better than me. Hold on,
I'm so maxed out in agility and survival and lore. I'm like,
It's just like, I know things and I'm fast.
Okay, so
I'm
Gruber,
suspicious because I know too much.
knowledge is a weight.
Sunglasses on.
All right, so Gruber
was
is
already
at the top.
holding the secret murder knife.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. Then next up we have Holt with 9. Then we have the Rooks with 6. And as he kind of struggles to your feet in this half-plate armor, which is a point. Did you take off your armor before you went to bed? Or before you started your watch?
Yeah. Since he was on watch, he kept him on.
Yeah. Alright, as you kind of clatter to your feet in this half-plate, last but not least we have Asha. Alright, so Gruber, you see now that you can see what Asha is trying to get your attention to, and you can see this shuffling of black forms above you. What would you like to do?
Is like waking up part of the action? Like, will I be able to wake up and do something, or is kind of waking up and getting my...
I will say that if you want to use your short bow, so I'm going to say that getting to your feet is a lesser action, and in this system we have lesser actions and greater actions. It is also a lesser action to essentially knock your bow, so you can also do that this turn if you would like.
Can I shoot my bow while on my back?
I'm gonna say you can. You'll get a 1 dice penalty. As you just kind of...
But it'd be so cool.
It would be very cool.
Are you drawing it with your feet?
Yeah, so like as Asher's like wake up, I like roll onto my back and I like throw my cloak open because I slept fully clothed. And I pull out my short bow and I am gonna look for whatever he's screaming about and try and shoot it.
All right, so you get 1 less dice than you'd normally get to your marksmanship pool, and that's what you're rolling. However, you aren't really affected by the dark light because you are a mole, so you don't get any extra penalties. So it's just the 1 dice penalty.
Okay, so I would roll my marksman just that rating.
Do you have any specialties for archery?
Only thrown.
Okay.
So if I were to throw the bow, or if I were to throw an arrow, but I also get a penalty, so it'll just be 2
Yeah,
dice.
1 less dice. Okay, with a 6, there is this kind of, and you hear this clatter as it hits some of the rafters high above you. Doesn't seem to have struck any of the bodies that you can see up there. Holt, over to you.
Yeah, Holt is probably... So, they're all in, like, the ceiling, effectively. How low is this ceiling?
It's quite a high ceiling, which is how you weren't
fine.
able to just see them, obviously. Unfortunately, the only one who rolled awareness when you came into the fort was you.
Of course. Yeah, Holt will immediately see Gruber react and pull out with his new bow as well and just fire up.
Are you also firing from lying on your back?
No, he probably wouldn't.
Okay,
Purely
so
because he
use...
doesn't trust himself to.
That's fair. So you would use 1 lesser action to kind of get up and a 2nd lesser action to kind of knock the bow.
Mm-hmm.
So on your next turn, you can fire and knock again, essentially. It is now the rook's turn. Now, all you can see is this kind of mass of black boiling bodies above you. You can't see, however, quite how many there actually are. However, as you are getting your arrow ready to fire, Holt, you see one of these black shadowy forms just swoops down from the rafters and tries to dive bomb you. Where are their stats? Okay. Does an 11 beat your combat defense? Holt.
It is Holt. It's combat defense now that I've had the new... I'm sorry. Yes, it does.
Okay.
I think.
What
yes,
is your
it
combat
does.
defense? Is it
You
8
had
now?
10.
I think it's 10. It's gone down.
Yeah. So
It was
was it
12.
10 before? Oh, it was 12. Now it's 10.
It was 12.
Okay.
Now I'm 10. Yeah.
So it beats just by 1 margin. It's going to deal 3 damage to you. However, I believe you soak how much of that?
I soak up 3.
Oh, brilliant. So you suddenly feel this this kind of impact as these huge claws, these knife-sized claws just try and rake into your back. However, they hit the toughened kind of bark leather armor and you don't take any damage from it.
Like, you know that feel when you like recoil, when cats recoil from things on their back? That's what Holt's doing right now.
Another one of these rooks dive bombs Asha as the other kind of most easy target to hit. So 14 beat your combat defense, Asha.
It does. That is double what my combat defense is
Double
now.
your combat. What is your combat defense, if I may?
Is 7 now.
7. So with a 14, oof, that's a 2 degrees of success. You are going to take 6 damage. However, I do believe you soak most of that, or if not
9.
all of that.
All of it.
As this rook realizes that you are wearing this heavy plate and the talons just kind of go off of the armor and it just volleys back away from you. One more is going to come down. It kind of sees that its companion had no effect against this half plate armor and is going to go for Holt again. Okay, with a 12, I think that does hit you. However, once again, because it's only beaten by one margin of success, the claws just kind of rake against your leather armor. And you're pretty sure it's scoring some nasty scratches in your brand new armor, but the damage isn't getting through to you. And we are back up to the top of the round. No, actually, we are on Asha's turn.
Last but not least.
Yeah.
Yes. Asher. So they're still all up in the rafters. Nothing.
Yeah. Every time they come down to hit you, they've kind of volleyed away.
Okay. Ash, I want Asher to move over to the fire that Gruber put together.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any, I guess, logs or anything that are both on fire, but maybe are like kind of sticking out? Anything he could grab?
Yeah, I could say there'd be a let's see. So I'm going to say this kind of action is exactly what we use destiny points for, which, if you recall, I've mentioned in the past. So if you spend a destiny point, it's basically a minor use of a destiny point. It means that you can find something handy to you in your environment, for example, during combat, that will aid you. So, for example, something like an improvised weapon like this would suit that description. So if you would like to spend a destiny point, you can find exactly what you are looking for in this situation. It's not permanent. You essentially can get your destiny points back in the system as soon as your character essentially meets one of its goals, one of its kind of objectives that it's trying to move towards.
Sure. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
Okay, so you grab this this fairly hefty branch. One end of it is on fire.
Yeah, and he is going to throw it towards the rafter. See if he can, maybe if he can land it somewhere and kind of illuminate the area where the rooks are.
Okay, let me just check something about throwing weapons.
I do have throw 1 for my athletics.
Okay, so roll. I think this is going to be. It's technically not. It's not really marksmanship, so I'm going to call it. I'm just going to make it an athletics roll, yeah, and you can use your thrown specialty.
Awesome. So that is 15.
15. All right, yeah, that's definitely going to hit as you just lob this burning branch up into the mass of bodies that you can see shuffling and cawing against each other as this place starts to be filled with this cacophony. And that is going to hit for 2 degrees of success. I'm going to say it's kind of an improvised weapon, so I'm going to get you to, it's going to deal damage equal to your athletics, but only -1 because it is on fire. So what's your athletics -1?
That's 3.
3, okay, but it deals double damage because you beat by 2 degrees success. As you hear this unearthly screech, and one of these rooks just plummets to the ground, and it's just, the feathers have started burning, and it's just kind of cawing and screeching, but it's not doing this for long, as within a few moments it just lies still. And we are back up to the top of the round with the murder mole.
So there's only one left?
You don't know how many there are left. There seems to be quite a lot above you.
Oh. I'm just going to take aim at another one. And, well, I'll stand up first. And then I'll take aim.
Okay. So you stand up and you knock an arrow. So that's your turn. Next up, Holt. You have an arrow knocked and ready.
I'm muted.
Yes.
I'm rolling marksman.
Yes, you are rolling marksman for this one.
Oh, I have 2 specialities in it. Does that mean I get to...
Yeah, you can roll 2 extra dice and sub them in for lesser rolls.
Thank God.
Okay, so... yeah, so that is just now enough to hit. So your damage, I believe I told you, was your athletics plus 1?
2.
Plus 2, okay. How much is that?
My athletics is 7, so...
Damn, alright, yeah. Again, you let one of these enormous longbow arrows fly. And the next thing you see is another one of these rooks just plummets to the ground. Not on fire this time, but very much just still. And as you watch this happen, you've got one lesser action left, which you can use to move or knock another arrow.
Yeah, he'll literally just turn to look where his friends are, if there's any there, and will knock an arrow ready.
Okay, so as you see this this bird drop, there is this and the one that also drops on fire, there is this instantaneous burst of furious cawing from above you. And suddenly it just seems that you are pelted from all angles by these furious rooks, which, being rooks, are quite large. They're slightly smaller than Hilt, but definitely bigger than Gruber and Anastagia. Anastagia, it seems, has kind of just woken up and she doesn't seem to quite know what's going on right now. But the first rook is going to come for Hilt with an 11.
That does hit.
But again, it can't get through your armor. These claws aren't strong enough with these hits to kind of get through your armor. Next one. This one, sorry, I didn't call it before. This one was also coming for Hilt, but again, still, it's just having no effect, and they're getting angry. They're getting frustrated. So the next one is going to go for Gruber, having seen that its companions just cannot get through the toughened armor of these two larger beasts. Gruber, does an 11 hit you?
Well, so for armor, my leather armor has an armor rating of 2, so I add that, and then I might... No.
The armor rating isn't added to your combat defense. That's what soaks damage.
Okay.
So essentially all you do is put the -1 on your normal combat defense.
Okay, then yes, that does hit.
Okay, so instead of dealing damage, this one is going to try and lift you up into the air. Could you roll an athletics check for me, and we're going to have a contested roll as you try and struggle and not be picked up by this bird. Okay, so the rest of you see Gruber is being lifted slowly into the air.
Come on.
At the moment, it hasn't, because it's obviously got this weight. It would be within range of your melee attacks, both for Asha and Hilt, because you're quite tall. However, yet another one of these rooks dives down from the rafters, but this time it doesn't seem to be focusing on any of you. It is focusing on Gruber's now abandoned ration knapsack, and it just snatches it up and flies back up into the rafters. And we're back to the top of the round. Gruber, you're currently grappled in the talons of a rook and slowly being... Oh, sorry, no, it is Asha. It is your turn. So sorry.
It's okay. No, it's all right. My initiative's so low. It's all right. Yes, I think Gruber's more important than food. So if the rook is still struggling to lift him, I will draw my hand and a half sword and see if I can ground it.
Okay. In that case, could you please go ahead and roll a fighting check? And remember, you will still have advantages. So do I.
Remember that. I don't know why I keep forgetting that.
Ooh, yeah, that's going to hit by a margin of 2. So how much damage did I say your hand and a half sword did?
That is
Athletics
plus 1. Yes.
Okay, so double that.
5.
Double to 10. You cleave straight through this bird, and Gruber, you plummet towards the ground, and you would take... You're not actually very big, so you are only going to take 3 points of damage as you just hit the ground.
Can I
Does
try
my
to catch
armor
him
absorb any of that damage?
Yeah, your armor can soak... What's your armor rating? Was it 2?
2, so I only take 1 damage?
Yeah, you only take 1 damage as you just kind of go thump and hit the ground.
Can I try to catch him as a minor action?
Yeah, actually.
Or maybe soak up that stick my foot out and just...
I can say you can roll an agility check for me. It's not going to be the easiest thing to do because you've only got have you got your Bastard Sword and your shield equipped right now?
I do. And
Yeah, in
I'm
which case
flawed
you
in a-
wouldn't be able to catch, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to catch Gruber with a sword. That's for the best.
Yeah.
Spotted.
So, Gruber, you just hit the floor. It is your turn. You are currently prone, so you would have to take half your action to get back to your feet.
That sucks. Is the rook still? Is it still flying?
The rook is dead. It got cleaven in twain.
Oh,
cloven
it
in
got
twain.
claved in twain.
Unless
You know,
you're talking about the other
cleave
rook.
means to take apart and put together.
Interesting.
That's interesting.
That's my fun cleave fact. So if you
Yeah.
have a meat cleaver, your meat cleaver could either be taking apart the meat or maybe putting the meat together.
We all learned something here, folks.
Now here's a really bad joke. The other rook, the rook is on fire. We don't need no water. Yeah. Okay, we learned something. We didn't learn something. This is a good day. Okay.
Okay, so one of the rooks is... Two of the rooks are now dead.
There are 3
I'm
dead
on-
rooks on the ground.
Am I on my face or am I on my back?
You fell on your face.
Oh. Well, that hurt because it hit my nose, which is my most sensitive and largest organ. And so I'm just on the ground and I'm just like, and I'm gonna I'm gonna roll over and I'll stand to my feet, but I am probably a little dazed.
Okay. I will let you knock an arrow if you would like to.
I'll knock an arrow.
Okay. Next is Holt.
Yeah, Holt is so the one that was carrying Gruber. Are they officially like down?
Yeah, that one
Or
has
is
been
that is
slain.
down?
It has basically been beheaded.
Are there any that look like they're now going for Gruber, like a pick-off kind of?
You're not
thing?
sure. There is just this. You can roll an awareness check for me as a free action just to see what you can see.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm so aware and notice these the first place.
Always send Holt in first
Okay,
to a
yeah.
room. I love it. All right. However, with that roll, you can see that there is still this boiling mass of black, iridescent, glossy bodies above you. From what you can see, there must be at least 8, 9, 10 of them up there, and that's the ones you haven't killed.
Okay.
And they are all just circling. It doesn't look like any of them have, you can't see if any have picked out a specific target, but they are definitely enraged.
He's just gonna start taking them down then. He's just gonna fire that arrow.
Okay.
I'll
Can
roll
we
the
talk
first-
in character?
Yeah, talking
Between
is a free
attack-
action.
Maybe they're just after our food.
You are the food right now as you're getting like picked up. I'm gonna roll 66, but it's actually 4 and I can replace
Yeah.
2.
Oh, good thing too.
God!
All right, so that's a 17 though. That is still
Yeah.
a very good roll. That's going to be a double damage. So your damage with your longbow is your agility.
It was
no, it's
my
athletics plus 1.
2
Doubled.
doubled. Okay, so hang on. Wait, what?
I think it's
So-
definitely enough to kill one of these,
Yeah, it's
another one of
18.
these birds.
18 damage.
As you manage to pick off another one as it just plummets down towards the ground. And it is now their turn. And they get a little bit more attacky at every turn. So the first one is going to try again at you, Holt, because you do seem to be very dangerous and they're getting a little bit kind of frenzied. That does not hit at all. It doesn't even hit your armor. It just misses you completely as it wheels past. The next one is going to go for your abandoned, your knapsack, Holt, which is kind of by your feet. And because you are in a position to retaliate, what I'm going to say is, as it dives past you, you're going to make a contested agility check. And if you pass, I'll let you essentially, I'll let you get in an unarmed, try and grab or punch or something as an opportunity attack.
No one takes my
Because
mistakes.
it's putting itself in a dangerous position. So, agility check.
Test agility check.
And I'm going to use one of my advantages to increase that to a 12.
No!
So it manages to scoop up your rations in its talons and just flies back up into the rafters.
Okay, now he's mad.
We found the hill that Holt will die on.
Yeah, it's just like, my honey cakes! As he like knocks another arrow.
Alright, the third one is going to have another go at Asha. This is going to be a bit pointless, but you know, it's dark and they're all whipped up into a frenzy. Yeah, definitely not going to do anything to Asha. There's this another like screech of sparks as you see claws drag over the metal, and it's a horrible sound, but seems to be unharmed. Fourth one. This one is in fact going to go for Gruber. Oops, with a 7. I don't think that beats your combat defense, does it, Gruber?
Does not.
Okay, wow, these brooks are terrible. As it just like there's just this flurry of feathers. This thing starts to try and get you, but don't quite catch you. And the 5th rook to attack this turn. This one is also gonna dive bomb towards Asha, and it's gonna try and grab your pack, Asha, which is quite close to you. So once again, we're gonna have a contested agility check, and to see if you can catch it as it comes down at you. Ooh, yeah. This time you are able to react. I'm gonna say you can attack with your shield because you've already kind of swung your sword this turn. I don't want to give you like a free big attack, if that makes sense.
Sure.
What I'm gonna say is, rather than deal damage, you are able to kind of put your shield in the way, so it just kind of bounces off and doesn't get to steal your stuff.
Okay, so
Okay. It is now your turn, however.
Okay. I think should we still have 2 packs of food? Should we just leave? This seems.
You have 1 pack of food.
We have 1 pack of
sorry.
food.
Anastagia has 1 as well.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, all right. My original statement stands. Should we just leave? This seems.
He's got my honey cakes! Like, it's like, the whole is like now jumping at the ceiling.
All right, I guess we're going to murder an entire chapel full of rooks.
He's like, I'm not saying kill him, I'm saying we just need to get him back.
Black-feathered foes, if you return our food to us, we will stop murdering you.
Roll a persuasion check.
That'd be intimidation.
If you want to make it sound intimidating.
Yes. Yeah. The same thing I said, but with a more nasty tone. Black-feathered friends. Foes, not friends. Return our food
Too
to us.
friendly for this.
You should have let them all do it. It's by far the scariest one.
No, trust me, I took throw 1 in the anticipation of throwing either the mole or the hedgehog. It will happen
I was
someday.
literally thinking, what if I got a plank of wood and it was on fire and then you threw me? I was totally thinking that.
Oh, I was just gonna throw you with like blades spinning. Just anyway.
Yeah, just like wrap some knives on strings around the curled up mole. Sure.
There was a reason I put that axe in that papoose. That's all I'm saying. All right, so yeah, 14.
14. You hear from a buddy this kind of caw, caw! It seems they probably don't understand your dialect.
Perfect. Great. Is that my turn? I'm assuming.
You can have another lesser action. I'll say your persuasion attempt was a lesser action.
Can I prepare an action? Ready an action?
So what you can do is, you can't kind of delay or prepare your turn if you've already taken some of it. What
Okay.
you can do, if you wanted to leave, for example, you do still have that barricade in front of the one way out of here. So you could move over to that if you wanted to start dismantling it.
Yeah, okay. I will do that.
Or you could pick up your stuff first.
Oh, yes, I will pick up my stuff.
Because I'm a nice
first.
DM.
I appreciate that I inferred that happened, and you are absolutely right. Infer nothing. Yes, I will pick up my my food rations and hold them close.
All right, back up to top of the round. Gruber, you have an arrow knocked. What would you like to do?
I'm going to ask Holt and Asher if they... So, are we shooting at them or are we not?
And Holt's like looking up at his bag and he looks over to Asher. He's like, should we just go?
Wait, if you can hit
shoot
the
a
ones,
wing.
if you can hit the ones that have the food that and make them drop with it, that would be ideal. Get our food back and scatter.
I want to aim. I don't want to do like. Okay, I'm gonna aim for one of the rooks. Can I see one of the rooks with a bag?
Roll an awareness check for me.
Awareness.
Is one of them just like munching on the chestnuts? Just
Don't seem to be munching yet.
okay, good. 'Cause that would send Holt into a rage.
If it starts eating it.
Okay,
Just
with a
launch.
23, you can absolutely see one of these black forms in this mass of rooks. You can see dangling from one of its talons. You can see it carrying one of your ration packs.
I'll aim for that one, and I'll aim for his little feetsies.
Okay, roll your marksmanship for me.
And I don't get a disadvantage, right? Or I don't get
because
a...
you're not lying down at this point. Okay, with 13, that will be enough to hit. What is your damage? I believe is athletics +1. Sorry, agility +1.
It's agility +1, so my damage is 5.
Okay, 5. As you let this arrow fly and it kind of finds its mark, you see it kind of strike the leg of this rook, and you hear the frenzied cawing as it spasms, and you see the food pack drop through the air. And that will be your turn because you did a lesser to try and find the target and then one to fire, if that makes sense. Make sure you got the right one. Okay, Holt, it's your turn. There is a ration bag plummeting through the air.
Yeah, he's gonna be like running, like arms out, like get the rations, get the rations, get the rations.
All right, I'm gonna say lesser action to run and catch your falling rations. You've one lesser action left.
Okay. Are we like Asha? Does Asha look like Asha's getting ready to leave?
Asha has picked up his stuff.
Okay. Holt is going to grab. He's got one, like his rations in one arm. He's just gonna grab Gruber and go, run, and start like running out towards the entrance of the cave.
Lady Anastagia as well is going, oh goodness, oh my, has finally kind of woken up fully, is going to grab her own supplies and dashes after all the rest of you. It is the Rook's turn. The first one, as there seem to be about 9 of these things left. The first one is going to dive at your back, Holt, for the pack that you've just kind of picked up and slung onto your back. But a 7's not going to hit as you manage to duck just as this form flies and you feel the breeze of it go over your head. The next one, so far at the moment only Gruber's supplies have still been filched. The next one is going to try and grab the pack off of Ash's bag. And that one's even worse. Oh my god, these rooks are terrible. What they have in numbers does not make up for their terribleness.
You didn't
Heck off.
Yeah, you just kind of swatted away like a fly.
Get out of here.
You see, however, that Lady Anastasia is trying to hold her pack closely to her as well, and one of them flies at her. I think a 14 is definitely going to beat hers. So that you see as this rook kind of sinks its talons into her ration pack and starts dragging backwards. And you see that Lady Anastasia is also being pulled backwards by like the force of the great wings as they try and pull against her. The next one is going to go again for Holt. 9. I believe that one would hit. Oh no, because you got 10 now, don't you?
I got 10.
Alright, so that one also doesn't hit. However, there is another friend behind it to follow up. There are a lot of these guys. With an 11. All right, so you feel the talons sink into your rations. It's going to be a contested, in this case, athletics roll, which I think you'll probably win.
He's twitching now.
As it tries to drag these rations away from you.
No one takes his rations.
Definitely not this bird.
They're like, hell no.
However, as you kind of yank the bag away from the rook, you feel the talons kind of rip through the canvasy fabric of the bag, and you watch as some of your trail mix is leaking out of these big tear marks.
He screams.
And the last one is going to have another go at Asha's bag. I believe a 10 will hit Asha. As you feel, again, these talons sink into your rations. And it's going to be a contested actually. So Asha, when you picked, sorry, I'm trying to like make sure this is all kind of fair in turn order. Asha, when you picked up your rations, you would have had to have stowed either your shield or your bastard sword. Which one would you have put away?
Stowed the sword.
Okay, so that means you've still got an arm to yank with. So it's going to be another contested athletics check. Pretty sure you will. Oh, just about. There's a bit of a tussle and a bit of a tug of war, but you just about manage to yank your bag free. And again, there is this kind of, as nuts and fruit starts to kind of leak through these great big slashing tear marks. As these rooks are just wheeling around all of you, you hear Lady Anastagia kind of pipe up say, "Oh, what should I do? Should I let the fiend take it?" As she's kind of fighting with her own kind of bag, but isn't quite as athletic, I don't think, as both of you. I wish I knew what her stats were.
Is this something we can assist her with?
It is now your turn, Asha.
It is my turn. Okay. Then yes, I will go over and see if I can just shield bash the rook that Anastasia.
Absolutely. Roll a fighting check.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna hit and some. So I believe your athletics -2 is the damage you would deal with your shield bash.
That is, so that is 2.
2. However, that is critical damage, so you triple that to a 6. So you literally barrel in Captain America style so hard with the shield that you just smash this rook in the face, and it just hits the ground and crumples out cold.
It's literally all I've ever wanted to be compared to Captain America.
So that's your turn. Next up to top of the round, Gruber, you are under Holt's arm, and you have dashed to the barricade, which you put in front of the main door to this place.
So I am being carried.
You're currently being carried.
Can I? What can I do whilst being?
Okay, so whilst you're under the arm of this otter, I can say you can start dismantling the barricade from your kind of vantage point. You just grab, drop, or
right.
You can either use your whole action to essentially remove half the barricade. You can use a lesser action to remove a quarter of it, and you can also, for example, use a lesser action to kind of remove yourself from this carrying position. Or you can also lesser action knock an arrow, lesser action fire from under the arm of Holt.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Are there still any? There are rooks near Anastagia and
yes, you can see a cloud of them have kind of broken away and around them. There's probably about 8 of these things left now.
Okay, I'll fire into the crowd.
Okay.
Kind of like not at anyone in particular, but kind of directly center in the hopes that they'll all kind of move away.
Yep, okay, roll a marksmanship test for me, please.
Damn it. Can I use one of my advantage dice?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. So roll 1 extra d6, and you can swap it in for that one. Fantastic. So that's going to be extra 4, so that is going to hit. What is your damage with your bow?
It is 5.
Okay, so you fire into this crowd, and you hear this pained kind of core of shock and surprise, and one of the rooks, whilst it doesn't seem to quite have been killed, breaks away from the flock and kind of flaps back up into the rafters. It seems to have been quite nastily injured. Okay, so
Run, you guys!
Holt, it's now your turn.
And Holt, so everything is open now, is it literally like we can just...
No, you haven't started taking down the barricade yet.
Okay, then I'm just going to keep firing at anything that comes in the direction. So
at the moment, you and Gruber are stood next to the barricade. Gruber is kind of like a weird cannon attached to your back right now.
Oh, that's tempting.
Yeah, so Asha has run over to help Lady Anastasia fend off the crows as they kind of both make their way towards you, but at the moment you're closest to the door.
Because this is the... can I just try and use my tail or something to just try and crash through?
Yeah, absolutely. Roll actually out of interest and attack for me with your tail. So that's going to be a fighting check. Do you have any specialties in tail? I think you do.
I do in my tail.
So you can roll an extra bonus dice with that.
Okay. So that's 66.
Okay, so that is a nice hefty 17. What is your tail damage? I believe it's athletics -2.
Yeah, so hang on, that's 5. It's 5 damage.
So you can double that, and because you got a really good smack in, and as you make this enormous wallop with your tail, you see these bits of stone and detritus just kind of fall apart, and you've opened the way.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to say that huge wallop would have been your whole action.
Oh yeah, he would have had to move his whole body into it, and he's like, go, 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 go! Like he's like beckoning to the others to run.
All right, it is now the rook's turn, however, and the first two are both going to dive bomb you, seeing that you're close to escaping, and they want to get your rations back off of you. 7, not going to hit. Not going to hit. Oh my goodness. These things are just like wheeling around. You're just now maybe your senses, your abilities have been heightened by the danger to your food. You've just started like karate dodging everything. The next two are going to go for Gruber, also on your back, and try and grab the supplies that Gruber managed to get back. Actually, no, Gruber's were carried off. So it's they're just going to attack Gruber. 9. Does a 9 hit you, Gruber?
It meets.
Okay, I think it's a meets it beats kind of situation, like D&D.
Right.
So you would take 3 damage, but that's reduced by 2.
Right.
So you only take 1 damage as you feel these claws kind of rake across your like velvety skin. Maybe they've kind of managed to go above your armor and onto your like head or something. And the next one does the same, coming for you. And this is a 10 this time, so you would take another 1 point of damage as another one follows up. And this time you feel this heavy beak just kind of peck it deep into the soft leather armor, and some of the bruising gets through. The next two, they're gonna harass Asha with Asha's supplies. First one. Ooh, a 15. What is your combat defense, Asha?
7.
7, so that's enough to be a crit as you feel the talons sink. This time a little bit more craftedly. They grab the straps of your ration supplies and yank that instead, so they break the straps and carry it off back up into the rafters with a crit success. And the last one is just going to attack you, I think, since they've got your food. With a 13, I think that does hit, and yours is 7. So you would take 6 damage because it's doubled, but even so, it just shrugs off of your super good armor. As there's this other clang of talons against steel. And it is in fact your turn now. Anastasia in this time has been able to make her way to the door.
Okay. then yeah, I think cutting his losses, he's just going to run shield in front of him towards the exit and just get out of here. I also, I realized that he's wearing a blue tabard with stars on it and has a shield. We created Badger America.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Just one big 4-8 star dead center.
Badger America, that needs some fan art.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you were able to make it to the door. If you like, with your shield, you can take it like basically a stance so that everything would have to go through you, pretty much, to get to everyone behind you.
Yes, I would like that.
Okay, and it is now Gruber's turn again. You're still under the arm of Holt, but the way in front of you is now opened up.
But Asha and Anastasia are like coming towards us.
Anastasia has by this time joined you, and Asha is now basically shielding you from the inside of this building.
And the rooks are still flying at us. I mean, there's really nothing I can do since I'm being carried, so I will assume that Holt will take over the pedestrian action when it comes to it and walk us out, and so I'll just fire again.
Okay.
Kind of not necessarily aiming for anyone in particular, just aiming towards where they might be clustered.
Yep, that's fair. Make an attack roll for me. Okay, yep, that'll definitely hit, and your damage is energy plus 1, which is 5. Roll a... Let's see, how many we got? Roll a d8 for me. Okay, with a 7, you see your arrow strike true, and it hits one of the rooks that you haven't hit yet. So essentially it doesn't take out anyone that's already injured, but it does severely injure yet another one of the rooks, who also seems to kind of peel away from the main flock and go back up to the rafters to nurse its wounds. So essentially there are at this point 5 active attackers. Holt, it is your turn. The way in front of you is open.
Holt will probably now be waiting for his friends to get out, and he'll probably drop Gruber so that Gruber can move, and will stand there and use a lesser action to knock another arrow, so that as they're coming, if any chase them out, he can fire at them.
Okay, cool. So if you're knocking the arrow, technically you've got another lesser action. You could fire if you want.
Okay, so dropping Gruber isn't a lesser
action. Sorry, I missed that bit.
I'm just checking, yeah.
You drop Gruber and you knock an arrow.
And then I knock an arrow, yeah.
That's your turn. And then we come onto the rooks. Say, they're actually just all gonna blast at Badger America right now because he's the one directly in their way. So let's just try and get through this quickly. First one, 7. That's gonna be a hit, but the damage isn't enough to get through your armor. Same deal for the second one. 16, however. Let me just double check my notes.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, literally just about can't get through into the chinks between the armor. It's one off being able to get through. Nope, that one ain't gonna do it. You're just feeling bird after bird just bounce off of you right now.
Barrage of birds.
And that is all 5 of the active ones. So yeah, you just kind of stand there as each one just kind of dong, dong, and like kind of bounces off of the shield as you kind of put yourself between them and your friends. And it's now your turn.
Has everyone made it out?
Everyone's now out the door, yeah.
Okay. Then yeah, I think we're gonna run into the woods. They've made it out. I've served my job as a door.
All right, so you would like to use your turn basically to sprint into the woods?
To flee, yes.
Okay, so Asha is running back up to the top. Gruber, you have been dropped.
I'm gonna head out as well.
All right.
Well, is Anastasia still in the room?
Anastasia's with you. No, she's out. Out of interest, starting with Asha, actually, if you're all gonna run, could you all roll athletics checks for me? If you're all running now.
Could I do something like
you
more
can roll agility?
based?
Yes, sorry, you can also roll agility. Yeah.
May I dance away?
Yeah, agility is also fine.
Do cartwheels away.
Yeah.
A Holt, if you could do your same, either agility or athletics. I'm going to say that Anastasia will roll the same as whoever gets the lowest roll. Oh, is Holt not here right now? Oh no, Holt's here.
I'm back. I've just got back. Sorry.
She
what am I
just got
rolling?
back.
Could you roll either athletics or agility as you are all now running into the woods?
I will roll athletics.
Oh my goodness, I forget your athletics is insane.
I'm
Holt,
bad at everything else.
yeah, so we got a bit of a Usain Holt situation as you just blast past everyone.
That's amazing. Oh man.
That was,
This game is so good for
such a good
puns.
joke, Rachel. That was
I literally
such a good
slipped
joke.
that right in there.
I like need a second. Oh man, that was good.
You're just such a good party for puns. And Anastasia is going to be going at the same pace as Gruber. Gruber, you and Anastasia are a little bit slower than the bigger creatures, but you're still making a good pace. I'm just going to do a collective roll for the rooks. Oof, however, not good enough. The rooks are on your tails, whether you have tails or not. And are quickly kind of catching up to you. You can all see that they will get an attack in next turn, unless you are able to outrun them again. So could everyone please roll another athletics check, or agility. Oh my goodness.
Do we need to declare
How
my
did I get
use?
caught in the first place? Like,
Do I need to declare my use of a advantage before I roll, or can I do it after I see one of the dice?
I'm going to say for this system, because advantage is inherently a bit less powerful because it's just one extra bonus dice, I'm going to say you can declare afterwards.
Okay.
I'm gonna use an advantage as well.
Yeah, I think I'm going to use an advantage to
Okay.
replace that too, just to.
Okay. So we have basically 250. Well, everyone's on 15 apart from Holt, who's just crazy otter. Now for the rooks. Oh boy. Okay, the rooks are now falling behind. It seems like some of them might have peeled off and just kind of slunk away with the rations they were able to steal. But it does seem like they are peeling off and leaving you alone now. As the forest starts to slowly kind of calm down around you, and you have time to kind of collect yourselves, get back together as Holt kind of blasted away into the night, and you are able to kind of reconvene. But it does seem that the rooks have now fled back to the abandoned ruin.
How much
Oh,
time had
goodbye.
passed before we had been attacked?
Not that long. It had only been about half an hour, if that, from when most of you would have just fallen asleep. So now that everything's calming down, you've realized you are exhausted. You'd done a full day's traveling, and then you fought off the volleys of rooks. And it is very late, and you haven't really been able to sleep yet. And it is still pouring with rain.
I was just about to ask, is it still raining?
It is still raining.
Well, first night, success.
You also have a total of 2 ration packs remaining. However, Holt, your rations have been slashed, and you have lost about a third of them already.
No.
he's pretty sad about it. Like, he's holding this ripped bag and he's just looking at it, checking the contents, what he has left. And you can see visible sadness. Like, he genuinely looks sad about it.
Like, the air is just gloomy around you right now.
Like, just the rain falling on him. It's that sort of David Tennant Doctor Who look out into the rain as the bag has been, like, emptying. He's like, trying to like keep some of it covered so none of the pastries get like wet or anything.
Oh, come on now. It could be worse. We're all still here.
He just looks over and hugs his bag a little tighter.
Well, that failed. All right. Is anyone injured?
Yes.
Does anyone require your first aid?
Yes. I was picked up and then I fell on my face.
Yeah, I was there. That looked like it hurt.
Yeah, like
I
Holt
would-
looks Gruber. He's like, "You all right?"
I mean, so the damage comes out of our health, right?
Yes, so essentially you are down, I think, 3 hit points after that battle because you
Yeah.
got dropped and then hit twice.
Yeah.
The way that healing works in this game is essentially once per 24 hours, someone with the with some ranks of healing can try and patch you up, and the many degrees of success they get equal how much they can heal you by.
Does that mean I still have damage from the first session?
No, you are all healed up from
Okay.
Before you started today at full health.
Cool. Yeah, I am, if I had to put a number on it, I'd say I'm feeling it. I feel like I took about 3 out of 9, if that makes sense to anyone. That's kind of my own personal system. I like to do a 9-point scale.
Like, Holt sort of looks a little bit, sort of reaches in, takes out a honey cake, and holds it out to you.
Is the honey cake, is it like wet or dirty or anything?
Oh no, he's protected the rest of these.
It's a good honey cake.
I take it graciously. How big is the honey cake?
These honey cakes, they're a bit like old-fashioned rock cakes. They're about the size of a hare's fist, which in your hand is probably not the size of one of your fists, Gruber, but it is still a sizable, like a sizable cake.
I'm gonna break it up into 4 pieces and give one to each person.
Aww.
We did it. We survived.
Cheers.
Cheers.
As you all tuck into your rather soggy honey cakes, which are very sticky now that they've got all wet, or this one has got all wet in the rain.
Well, should we try and find more shelter?
Maybe not in a cave or anything, like a tree might well. Like, and he starts questioning the tree.
How thickly packed are the trees in this forest?
They're fairly thickly packed. However, the amount of rain that's fallen means that these great big dollops of water are falling through the leaves and splashing on you and the ground around you.
Is there anything around us that looks like it's a more protected canopy? Like maybe...
Roll an awareness check for me. And anyone else who's also now looking around can also do the same.
So 12 for me.
Okay, Holt. As far as you can tell, this forest
tries so hard.
Yeah.
I really do.
As far as Holt is concerned, this
He's
forest is miserable and there is nowhere to go. Everything sucks in Holt's world right now. However, Asha and Gruber, as you're scanning around, you're looking for maybe some more densely packed trees, somewhere you can get out of the rain. You don't spot what you're looking for. However, you do see a faint flicker, maybe. Asha, you see a faint orange flicker. And Gruber, rather than seeing that, you just about pick up the slight scent of smoke.
Does anyone else see that?
No. Like,
I
no,
see
it's
it.
just...
I think
That's
it might
okay,
be
Holt.
a fire.
I think you're right.
Where?
The only question is it a friend or is it, and I clutch the knife in my, a foe.
I suppose I could
Murder
go and
knife.
check, but I couldn't see it the last time. Like he's really doubting everything now.
Ooh, I can sneak. I will.
Can't.
Everyone, wait here.
Gruber, if you can determine friend from foe, I'm going to try to comfort the altar here. And make sure
He's just like in a point of turmoil.
I'm going to like Bela Lugosi vampire style, like put my cape over me like this.
Absolutely.
And then I'm going to attempt to blend in, which is a specialty I have.
Nice.
And then I am going to attempt to sneak over.
All right, roll a sneak check for me with your specialty die as you just camo like Arnie style from Predator make your way through this forest.
So blend in is a survival skill and stealth
Okay,
is a different. Is that
all
okay to combine?
You can roll survival instead because you have that ability.
Okay. What am I rolling here?
Ooh. All right, so that's a very good roll as you just melt into the foliage. The other two cannot see you as you make your way closer to this fire. And you're quietly traveling for a couple of minutes before you peek through the trees. And with your slightly dim eyesight, you can see what seems to be a campsite in front of you. And that's not all you see. You can also see the edge of a small river or a very large stream running next to this campsite and running swiftly, kind of swollen by the heavy rain that's been falling. However, what catches your eye the most is this camp in front of you. In the center of the clearing is a large fire pit, which has been set up underneath some kind of waterproof awning. It looks like it might have originally been some kind of maybe a pike skin, like some tough looking fish skin that's been stretched out to stop the fire from being put out by the rain. And then scattered around this one central awning, you see several more of these tough looking fish skins, which have been spread out on these poles to keep the rain off of lots of very tiny creatures, which are currently sleeping in these on bedrolls with kind of blankets that are all curled up. A lot of them are outrageous snorers, but from what you can see, they're very small, about the same size as you, if not slightly smaller. They seem to have gone to sleep fully clothed. They are all wearing a colourful red bandana tied around their foreheads. I can see Alice nodding up there. And you can see that most of them, in fact, all of them that you can see, have a very short but deadly looking rapier sword lying next to them on the ground. And as you survey this campsite, you see one of these tiny little individuals is sitting upright against a tree and is scanning the area carefully. Doesn't seem to have spotted you, but is watching intently and has this rapier attached to this belt at its side. You also see, lastly, half a dozen of these what look to be hollowed out logs that have been dragged out onto dry land just off of the river.
So there's half a dozen boats.
Mm-hmm.
And so there have to be at least half a dozen. Did you say I saw how many?
Oh, yeah. You see about... There must be nearly 20 of these tiny creatures. It looks like you could probably get 3 in each boat.
And do I know what they are?
Your memory is still foggy. Roll a... either law or nature.
I'll do lore.
Okay. With that roll, you recognize what these are. These are, without a doubt, shrews. Slightly smaller than mice, with these slightly pointier noses and smaller ears. But very alert, very quick to fight, and very feisty.
Asher's mom said that we could talk to the shrews, right?
She did mention shrews, yes.
Okay. I will melt back towards the group. And I'll pop out, and when I pop out, I'll like throw my cloak off And I'll pop out like this.
Burst out of the darkness to your companions back where they are standing.
Jesus, like,
Go.
Shh, shh, shh. Don't blow my cover. By the river, there are 20 shrews.
Shrews?
I was expecting a very different response. Yes, 20 shrews by the river.
Oh,
That's-
a river! Like, no, suddenly backs up a bit. Well,
Did
aren't the shrews
they
the things
see
we
you?
can? Aren't they?
They did
ones
not,
we can-
because I am expert at hiding and blending in. And I take some dirt and I smear it across my face.
Do you instantly freak out because you hate germs?
I think I've given up germaphobe Gruber. Now that we've locked into like Sylvester Stallone Gruber.
Stealth Gruber.
You wild Gruber.
Ain't it the shrews we're supposed to be talking to? Or something like that.
Well, I remember that the shrews were fighting with other shrews. Did they seem to be unified in some way?
Well, these 20 seem to be quite unified, and they all had very sharp, long, thin, pokey swords.
Rapiers.
There's like 20 of them.
20.
That's a
Wow.
lot.
Well, do
Well-
you want to approach them, or do you want to?
They were on our list of potential allies.
You should speak to them, Asher, because you're a prince.
Holt looks at him.
I think Holt should lead us there.
All right. I thought you didn't want me to.
Well,
But
you make friends with
Asher-
everyone.
Holt couldn't even see the fire.
I can.
I
hear
don't want
you.
Holt to see the fire. I just... No, you don't. Your awareness is like 5.
Yeah, but I'm close enough. I'm close enough.
No, Holt makes friends with like our enemies. He's made friends with every rat we've tried to kill.
This is true.
This is true. All right.
Why don't you walk with me? You're a friendly individual.
I mean,
I'll
I can
stay
go up and
hidden.
Say hi.
I'll stay hidden and I'll keep my bow on one of them so that if things get hairy, we have the tactical advantage.
Holt like shrugs. Right then, and starts walking this way. Right, starts walking.
As
No,
you
no,
get
the
closer,
other way.
you can, as you kind of start to head in the right direction, Holt, you can also see the firelight kind of starting to poke through the trees. You're like, oh yeah, over here. Of
But
course.
she looks back like, I can see the fire. Like, walks towards this camp.
As you approach, are you moving stealthily at all?
No. Not at all. Even if he wanted to, I have a 1. So it's not gonna be good.
We've starved Holt. He's indignant. He's defiant. He's just
He's
ready
mad.
for death. Just
Okay, so could you all roll awareness checks for me as you just kind of stroll straight up into this kind of clearing camp?
Okay, that's pretty damn good for Holt.
That's good
Oh,
for
okay,
Holt.
never mind.
I do want to attempt to be stealthy. Should I roll?
Yeah, roll a stealth check as well for me.
Could I do the survival with the blend in?
Yes, you can definitely. Okay, yeah, that is enough. You are completely hidden as you kind of army crawl your way, survival style, to the edge of this clearing.
Should I also make an awareness check?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, you will definitely see exactly what goes on. In fact, all of you, as soon as Holt and Asha stride through into this campsite, the shrew on watch just sits bolt upright and grabs this little rapier in the other hand, picks up what looks to be a brass bell of some kind that was kind of sitting next to him, and just immediately goes ding 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 ding. As you see shrews starting to kind of rouse all around this camp and groggily turn over, you hear one of them just kind of grumble, "Oh, what's going on? What are you waking us up for?" And another one calls out, "Oh, it better be something good." And then a louder voice that's a lot gruffer and more authoritative than the rest of them goes, "Shut up, you two. Everyone, action stations right now." And surprisingly well organized, all 20 of these tiny creatures are up within a few seconds, have rapiers out and pointed at the lot of you, as this larger individual with the gruffer voice steps forward from amongst them with one hand on one hip. And this shrew is kind of beefier than the others. This one's slightly larger than you, Gruber, as it points this very deadly looking rapier at the rest of you, and frowns and says, "And who disturbs the guerrilla union of shrews in Mossflower?" And that, I think, is a good place to end for tonight.
I love how ridiculous our group is.
You are a fantastic group. Oh man. Yay, got to introduce the shrews.
I love the shrews. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rachel. I love this.
Not
I
at
love
all.
this game. I love this game. So everyone, please check out all the links that are coming up in chat now. You can also find a link to our Discord, where we would love to hear what you think of this Redwall campaign, because we love it and we'd love to hear what you love about it. Also, please check out the links down there. You can find the links to our wonderful sponsors in the form of Bird in the Storm and also Mage Hand Press, who we could not do this without. So please, please, please go check that out. Otherwise, we'll be back in a bit, in a couple of hours, for our next stream of the day. And keep evoking emotions and come join us back here next week for more Tales of Redwall.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.